Hello and welcome to Astro Lunatic's Guide to the Universe. I am Susan, aka Astro Lunatic, and it is Wednesday, February 28th, the day before Leap Day. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is a leap year. It's almost like we get one day. It just doesn't technically exist. It's kind of a weird thing to think of, sort of a time within time, which is kind of fitting for the astrology that we're having today, which is the Sun conjunct Saturn conjunct Mercury, all at 9 degrees of Pisces, which is, huh, it is super lazy, slow. I don't know. It could feel kind of heavy for some people. It really depends how it's affecting your chart. It happens to be making sextiles for me, and I think that's about it. So that's supportive, but still, Saturn, especially conjunct Sun and Mercury, Saturn's a super heavy feeling planet. So, some people could be experiencing some heavy feelings, blockages, situations, news, getting some serious news. I started feeling Saturn maybe about a week ago, almost a week ago. And I just randomly started feeling like it would just come in. I want to say a wave, but it's like a like a lead rock sinking, just a sinking feeling. Kind of this feeling like it feels like tired, but it's not really tired. It's just slow, dense. If anyone has dealt with depression, you know that feeling. And I have. So it was familiar to me. And I said, oh, what the hell is that? That's not me because I'm not there, but I've been there. So I know what it looks like, feels like, smells like. And then somebody came to me a few days later and was expressing the same sort of feeling that I was describing and having, had depression in their past. I mean, their fear was, I don't want to be in that state again. And I totally related to it. And, you know, Saturn can bring a sense of, dire circumstances or fear. There's a lot of fear associated with the energy of Saturn because it brings obstacles and challenges. So, if you've ever been through the ringer with Saturn before, it is very much a, a very characteristic sort of a reaction to sensing that energy again and saying, oh no, no, not again. I don't want to go through that again. So the fear of having to go through difficult times is part of, what we're experiencing because we've been here before and it was shitty and hard and don't want to go through it again. But as with the nature of Saturn, Saturn reminds us of how far we've come and what we learned and being able to apply those things to a new situation. So if you have planets or points at 9 degrees, first of all, at Pisces or Virgo, uh, Sagittarius or Gemini, those are the most first prominent difficult issues, signs. Experiencing the heaviness and weighty feeling of this aspect, my condolences, especially to anyone who is experiencing loss, because this is also somewhat of an aspect of the passing of someone older, most likely. Maybe someone, I mean, we could be looking at siblings for some people. Mercury's in there, Mercury is siblings, but getting difficult news. And we know a few people did pass recently. A Rothschild passed recently. I have a friend whose pet passed. So Virgo being the sixth house, trying to think of where that would be in her. Oh, that is her sixth house. Interesting. So she has Pisces in sixth house. So the energy was building. It has been building for about a week and peaked with the full moon. I believe that's when her dog passed. And so if anyone is dealing with that kind of thing, um, my condolences, really. There are a few things that I would say that are going on in addition with asteroids, that also point to the passing of people. Requiem is at 8 degrees of Pisces, and Requiem is a funeral mass. And we have, so Requiem is at 8, the sun is at 9. Also at 9 is Eurydice. Eurydice was the wife of Orpheus. So here we're talking about the Orphic mysteries that relates to death and resurrection. Now, Orpheus's wife passed away, and Orpheus, who is known for renowned for his lyre, his musical instrument, that was supposed to be able to reach the dead, right? And so he was allowed by, I believe, Hades, or he was allowed to enter the realm of the dead to retrieve his wife, Eurydice, who had passed. So he goes down to the underworld. He finds her. He is rescuing her, but he was told, do not look back to make sure that she is following you, or just don't look back, right? And out of fear, he looks back to make sure that she's following him, that she's behind him. She gets snatched from him forever. So yeah, that's the mythology of Eurydice. So as an asteroid, it definitely is connected to that archetypal theme. It's connected to females and husbands, wives, and also one of the themes is drowning, like drowning in sorrow. Uh, and that's kind of fitting for the Pisces sun, the Saturn, and the Mercury. So another asteroid that we have here at 9 degrees is Deianira. Deianira, I've talked about her before, and she was the wife of Hercules. And her story is connected to Nessus. Nessus is the he was the centaur that raped Deianira. He was killed by a poisoned spear. He gives her his cloak, which has his blood on it, tells her to make a potion of the blood I believe, and then she gives it to her husband to keep him from cheating on her. But she was tricked by Nessus because Nessus was the enemy of Hercules, her husband. So he kills his enemy and uses Deianira as, his unwitting pawn in his game of revenge. So her jealousy contributes to Hercules' death, really, because it allows her to be tricked and used by Nessus. So there is a saying, the shirt of Nessus has a lot to do with, uh, I would say causing your own demise because of revenge, jealousy, um, that kind of theme. So what else do we have here? Well, Nessus is in Pisces, but it's at 17 degrees, so we haven't reached Nessus yet. I'm sure we'll see that more playing out with the theme of love triangles and revenge, perhaps, maybe even in court. Anyway, ever since the full moon, it's been pretty crazy. If you've been following any of the court cases, very interesting stuff going on. I won't get into it. I was trying to look at this aspect from a different angle, this conjunction here in Pisces, 9 degrees. Now, there is a method that we can use that takes the degree of the planet and relates it to the house system. So the ninth house is Sagittarius, ninth house. So we could look at the sun, Saturn, and Mercury from a ninth house perspective, which would put a very Sagittarian twist on things. And so let's look into what that would mean for us with Pisces and Sagittarius themes both. Okay, so let's see. I think what we could see is things ruled by Sagittarius and Jupiter. For instance, bridges, uh, colleges and universities, professors, movie theaters and the cinema, foreign people, foreigners, foreign travel, foreign countries, borders. We know there is a lot going on with that. So maybe specifically bridges that connect countries and cross borders. But, in a hypothetical or metaphorical sense, we could look at things that connect countries. And one thing that came to mind were the underwater cables that are supposedly being sabotaged. But with this Pisces theme, I'm not so sure that we're getting the full story. Yeah. What else could we look for in terms of Sagittarius Jupiter themes? If we're looking at professors and colleges, we could look at students and searching for things, scouting, look for. Those are very Sagittarian type themes. I'm also going to add law and legal issues with Jupiter. Now, the Sun, Saturn, and Mercury are about to make a sextile one by one. First with uh, with Mercury, which is communication and news, announcements. Mercury to Jupiter, and then the Sun to Jupiter. So that again will reinforce the Sagittarian theme. And Jupiter's at 11 degrees. So by the degree system, we would look at 11th house and Aquarius themes coming up. So the news with Mercury and Jupiter, that aspect, which is happening tomorrow, an announcement perhaps having to do with, again, Aquarius and Uranian themes. So technology, internet-based information, and the Aquarius theme is, oh, see, Aquarius is also ruled by Saturn and Uranus. So here we have an energy of cutting, crossing, interrupting, surprising. Again, Aquarius, like Sagittarius, rules high places, uh, air travel, so airplanes, airports, high tech, high places, engineers, engineering, again, technology, friends, networks. If it's specifically the word or the name, height, high or height or heights, um, cross as a name, we can look to these things. It's very interesting. So we're looking at organizations and networks, electrical issues, perhaps, electricians, high wires, electrocution, tasers, stun guns. Mars will be square to, actually, Mars is square to Jupiter right now. So Mars is at an 11-degree mark. So Mars is weapons. So that would include tasers or electric based, energy based weapons. Anyone? Aquarius energy is very fast moving. I mean, we're talking about information being carried over the airwaves. It used to be related to radio technology, right? But now we have the internet, we have Wi-Fi, we have fiber optic cables. All of these things are coming into play. And the Sun, Saturn, Mercury. We have an interruption of communication, blockage of communication. That's what Saturn is. Saturn's a block. Mercury's communication. We're going to find out some stuff. So, I hear a lot of chatter on Twitter about, things that could be happening, things that people are talking about, aware of, possibilities. So, making provisions for yourself, like having your plan B if certain networks go down. I really don't think that Um, I don't see everything all at once. I see things being spotty. I see things going down for like a day and then coming back up. It's not going to be across the board. I don't believe this is my opinion. I don't think I think it's going to be regionally. I think it's going to be spotty, sporadic, like we saw. We saw something last week, didn't we? Right? A lot of cell data networks going out. So that was not too long ago. That probably would have been when Venus was maybe squaring on the 24th, squaring to Jupiter. So Jupiter again is everything that I've been talking about. Venus and Mars are in Aquarius. We're talking about networks. We're talking about all of these things that could be disrupted. Aquarius is also ruled by Saturn as the ancient ruler. Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces. So that is just reinforcing these themes. So, what do we need to look for in the coming days? Here is what I'm going to tell you according to the astrology aspects that we're having. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention. So Pisces and Aquarius. We can be talking about things up in the air. Again, high celestial. Didn't we have a weather balloon, another one of those high up? Weird things like that. But we're, I think we're gonna hear more about like uh, visitations, whether it's somebody thinking they see an angel or a ghost. I had a dream about someone who passed, one of my friends came to me in a dream, not the first time. This Pisces thing is in my 12th house. So this relates to dreams. This relates to people on the other side. So another thing that this could be showing up as, especially when the moon gets into Scorpio, people having prophetic dreams. And again, people popping over to say hi from the other side. That is, I'm feeling like the veil is super thin. Anyway, yeah. So in terms of aspects, so I've outlined to you what I feel like, what I'm seeing with what the energy is looking like from the planets, what we could possibly see. Let's do more. I want to look more at Pisces because Pisces is ruled by Neptune and Jupiter. We do have all three of these. Well, Saturn is moving really slow, but this month we will have, I mean, in March, we will have Mercury and the Sun conjunct Neptune, which has been in Pisces for a long time. Uh, and they will both, Mercury and the Sun, sextile to Jupiter and then march along, no pun intended. So let's look more at the Pisces themes before I give you the dates that I'm looking at for this week. Okay. So when we think of Pisces, what falls under the heading of Pisces? But first of all, the sea, the ocean, water, um, oils, liquids, oil in terms of fuel oil, so gas and oil. Someone was talking recently about during network interruptions. Here's just a little tidbit I want to pass along. File it under Plan B. If something happens where there are network interruptions and you are not able to pay perhaps by debit or credit cards, there's something about the older gas pumps that they might not be vulnerable to whatever outage is going on. And that would be the pumps that have the vertical card readers, not the horizontal ones. Or you could just pay with cash. Or I don't know, maybe you could pay inside and not at the pump. But there's something about that being like the old style network. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just telling you what I heard. Do your own research as always. But I think it's important to look at the Pisces themes because this is sort of a doorway, a gateway, forewarning, a precognitive event or a dream, maybe letting you know about something. With the Mercury Saturn Sun conjunction. By the way, the Sun, uh, so I guess Mercury would have been at maybe 8 degrees. I don't know. Yesterday, I saw it posted that the Sun had a solar flare while conjunct Saturn and Mercury. That was from an astronomical perspective, but I thought, well, that's interesting because that to me says, Saturn or the Sun is sending up a flare, like, you know, this is important. It just put an exclamation point to this conjunction here. Okay, so going further into the Pisces themes that I think we'll be seeing is, like I said, liquids, the sea, the ocean, gas, and oil, fuel oil, or cooking oil, even. I don't know. Okay, so illusion, fake things, narcissism, uh, glass, criminal activity, things relating to drowning or swimming, fish, again, disguises, people in disguise. With Saturn here, I would say like the mask would be being pulled off where there is deception. This can work in one of two ways. Sometimes it is someone's karma to be deceived so that they can learn a lesson. But then there's also the karma of having your ass exposed where you've been perpetrating a fraud or a deception. And that's one of the ways that Saturn can work here, especially for, I think, people in positions of power and influence um, that have gone on a long time without having their deeds exposed because they don't get called out on their stuff by people around them. So this could also play into religious themes, especially Christianity, because that's Age of Pisces. What else? Uh, uh, Sagittarius and Pisces both I look at in terms of movies and Hollywood. And now I include news media because it's basically Hollywood production, right? So that's something that we could be seeing. What else? Rain, like flooding. Think a lot of wet weather. Mercury in water signs can usually bring a lot of rain. Um, looking at the forecast, looks like to me we're going to be getting a lot of rain where I am, and having this sextile to Jupiter would just really increase that, probably with flooding, Jupiter being in an earth sign, and the earth just can't soak it all up. What else? Missing people, things going missing, fog, video footage, people's home ring cameras and stuff like that. Um, Flying, again, drowning in terms of emotions. That asteroid Eurydice, Eurydice is kind of one of those asteroids, the archetypes of like the female, overly emotional female drowning in her sorrows, someone drowning their sorrows in alcohol or drugs, another Pisces thing. What else? So we are talking about ponds and, larger bodies of water. Also, Pisces rules the feet. So things with feet, swollen feet, retaining water, edema in the feet, shoes, perhaps, missing shoes, or a shoe comes up as evidence in a crime. I don't know what else. So things having to do with sleeping. So I don't know, beds, mattresses, and Pisces rules institutions, rehabs. I know someone who's in rehab again. Well, they're in detox. They don't want to go through the program. Anyway, so those are Pisces 12th house themes, along with a little bit of Aquarius and Sagittarius, Jupiter, Uranus. Venus is going to square to Uranus from Aquarius, and Venus rules the sign that Uranus is in, rules Taurus. So we are talking about relationships and friendships and breaking free. There's also very it looks very like there's a possibility of divorces, people leaving, people breaking up, ghosting. Yeah. And in divorces, I think that there could be a possibility of the spouse being involved in criminal activity, uh, breaking your oath. That's definitely a theme with our asteroids in Virgo, which is opposite to Pisces. Okay, so as the Sun and Mercury go forward, we could see stuff coming up because it's going to oppose Juno, which is retrograde in Virgo, along with asteroid Aphetus, which is guilty by association, criminal networks. I talked before about, well, Juno being the wife, people being looked at because their spouse is involved in criminal activity, and just general oath breaking, of public servants. We see a lot of that going on with some very high profile cases, court cases. So as Jupiter moves forward in Taurus, it's at 11 right now. So the closer that it gets to 15, 16, 17, around those degrees, it will make a trine to the asteroids that I just spoke about. And those have been really super active since last fall when Mercury went retrograde through these degrees. And a lot of people were getting looked at for their criminal activity. Again, a fetus is RICO stuff, all right? Uh, you know what big case is in the courts right now that has a RICO thing going on. Well, that RICO spotlight, I believe, is going to be turned around on that particular DA, and her big fat fanny is going to get slapped. So, yeah, baby. Um, anyway, um, because there's a lot of stuff coming out over the course of this week. I think she's supposed to testify on Friday. So that should be interesting because it's a shit storm waiting to happen. Anyway, it just puts an emphasis on the legal stuff, the criminal activities being exposed, all the Pisces hiding, hidden things. And yeah, so what else can we take from that? The sun does represent in the chart the father influence, but just in regular, everyday, mundane astrology, not somebody's birth chart. If we're looking at, global and political events, that kind of stuff, the sun represents the leader of people in high position, government. So we're talking about the possibility of governmental and government officials committing fraud, faking things, even grants. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. The moon is in Libra today. Libra has to do with justice. And the moon is, contributing to this sort of very slow, like nothing's moving. I don't want to move. Let me go back to bed kind of feeling. The moon is void, of course, and it has been since yesterday. Like, this is one of the longest voids I have ever seen. So the void, of course, is when the moon makes its last aspect. It has to be a major aspect. So like a conjunction, a opposition, trine, sextile, or square to a planet before it goes into the next sign. So yesterday, the moon made a trine aspect to Venus. So as a closing aspect, that's not too bad, really. And then it went void, of course, because there were no more major aspects from the moon to any planets after that. And then the void lasts until the moon changes signs. And that'll be tonight, like around, I don't know, 10:30 on the East Coast. So 7:30 on the West Coast, or just for your time zone. That is a really long void. And the void moon, it just means that the energy just doesn't change until the moon goes into the next sign. Because the way you can mark the energy shifts is when the moon makes an aspect to a planet. So the moon aspects a planet, that energy's in play until the moon aspects another planet. And when there is no other planet, the energy doesn't shift until the moon goes into the next sign. And That will be tonight, late in the evening or early evening, depending on where you are. Um, and the moon goes into Scorpio, and then about 2 hours later, so overnight tonight, the moon squares Pluto. Moon in Scorpio square to Pluto. Pluto rules Scorpio. Pluto is death, transformation. I think we're going to hear about someone dying, someone in the hospital, maybe somebody who was missing and they find them in their past, or someone on life support and they pull the plug, that kind of thing. But not to focus on death. Um, maybe we're looking at the way we want to transform our life. Maybe we're looking at forming new networks and associations. Maybe we are, for the first time, having our dreams like open up and our dream life become more active. And instead of having those psychological dreams where, you're just like your teeth falling out, you it's the first day of school and you forget your schedule or you forget your locker combination. Oh my God. Rip, reoccurring dreams like that where you're just working out some stress. Then there's other dreams where, you know, people are visiting you live and on the other side. I think we'll hear people talking about very interesting dreams, uh, and having interesting paranormal experiences and really understanding that the realm of the dream world is really not all that different than the realm of where we go when we pass over, where our loved ones are who have left the earth, the body, right? You drop the body, but your consciousness still exists, right? People go on to have different experiences, in my opinion, based on their level of consciousness and understanding of, you know, so their self-knowledge and knowledge of themselves as an immortal being. And whatever you got to work out, you know, you continue working that out on the other side. So I think this is a really interesting aspect. I think a lot of people may be having some interesting experiences, especially when the moon goes into Scorpio, because the moon is going to make a trine aspect to the sun and Saturn and Mercury, both being water signs. So I would think that if you have planets or points in Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, the water signs, those are going to be most active. So let's start with those, looking at your chart and seeing where that might be happening. Oops, I had to pause it. I don't know if you could hear that. Recording in progress. Yeah, so those signs, the water signs, are the most perhaps affected feeling these aspects, because the water signs are activated. So your sensitivities are going to be heightened when the moon goes into Scorpio. So it feels like a nice pause today since yesterday, just kind of coasting along until tonight. And then we're dealing with the Scorpio moon, which is very deep, very think we will be wanting to really investigate things more deeply and find the things that have been hidden and perhaps motivating certain escapist behaviors and addictions. That is Scorpio Pisces. Pisces is a very avoidant type of a sign. It likes to escape. It's a fish. It likes to swim away. uh, Very chameleon-like and slippery. Anyway, so I'm going to share my screen. Let us share the screen and we can look at the aspects. So everything that I just talked about with the Sun, Saturn, Mercury, the Pisces themes, the Aquarius, the Sagittarius, the Jupiter, the Neptune. So from now until the conjunction of Mercury to Neptune and Sun, these are the themes we're going to be dealing with. So Mercury is conjunct on March 8th, and then Neptune on the 17th. So those are two very interesting dates that would go along with all the Pisces stuff that I talked about. I feel like the Sun, Mercury, Saturn conjunction, because Saturn crystallizes, and Saturn in Pisces is really hard to get a grasp on sometimes because we just don't really know where that Saturn boundary is because it's not solid. We have to make it solid, or there's a restriction or a boundary or limitation that we're trying to get a grasp on. But it's like if you're blind, and you're moving around and you don't see anything, and then suddenly you come up against something and you've got your hands and you're trying to feel around to see, if it's a wall. Can you go around the corner? It's kind of like that energy. And with Sun, Mercury, we're coming up against the wall, trying to figure out what it is. So Saturn being a very solid planet, trying to get a grasp on something that's not solid. So the Neptunian themes continue throughout March until really the sun goes into Aries. So all of that foggy, nebulous, deceptive, weirdo type Pisces energy, we're dealing with it. March 20th, that'll be when Venus will start to conjunct to Saturn. This feels like a financial contraction, perhaps. Anyway, let's go back. Let's just do this week. I'm just going to do through Sunday because I am late. It's Wednesday, but I feel like Saturn gave me a pass. So when the moon makes aspects to these planets, I think we're going to see the most activity. So let's look at tomorrow, the 29th being leap day. The moon, our emotions, the public, our intuition, sensitivity, spidey senses are getting a grasp on whatever's going on here in Pisces. We are doing some digging and investigating. Jupiter and Mercury will be sextile, and the moon is opposite to Jupiter. So we are getting some of the truth trickling out. This feels like justice, truth, karma, um, consequences for some people, positive justice and consequences for others that have been struggling. Maybe there's information coming out, that benefits people. Um, the moon, Jupiter opposition, most aspects to Jupiter are not negative, except if it's excessive, like, too much of a good thing. Too many sweets will make you gain weight. So there is a possibility that there is a lot of emotional focus on certain things having to do with Jupiterian themes and everything that I just went through before. Pisces, Jupiter, Sagittarius, and social media maybe being cut, people feeling cut off or alienated from groups. We're talking about so many different things. Um, but we are talking also about Scorpio themes now, and Scorpio is sex, death and resurrection and taxes, money owed, inheritances, insurance. But uh, there was an arrest of someone who killed a woman, and there's a couple of things in the news. So I could see that being a big uproar, demanding more investigation, more harsher penalties. The Sagittarius stuff and Pisces, we are dealing with border stuff. So I would think that there would be more news and more things coming out about crimes that are being committed by people who are not here illegally, Like I think that's kind of obvious. Would think it's obvious, but maybe not. But that's what I'm thinking. So tomorrow, if you have aspects coming up in your chart and this conjunction here in Pisces have triggered it, maybe planets in Taurus where Jupiter is, I would look at those. Venus is starting to make its square to Uranus, and on the 1st of March, we have the moon opposing Uranus, which is some kind of shocking, secret, weird, taboo, criminal activity, death, Scorpio people, and Venus here can have to do with females and finances. We do have stuff going on in Aquarius here, and the Venus square to the ruler of Aquarius. This could be possibly some of those spotty outages or hacking, because we are talking about technology and all of the things that I mentioned before when I told you what Pisces and Sagittarius and Aquarius and those themes that we need to look at. Okay. No, I'm not going to go over that again. But something on March 1st, That sounds a little bit interesting. Then on March 2nd, the moon goes into Sagittarius and it will sextile to Pluto. So again, possibly foreigners, foreign travel, uh, criminals. We're talking about Pluto and have the moon having gone through Scorpio the 2 days before. Scorpio is ruled by Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and the moon will sextile Pluto. So, anything having to do with all those themes will add the criminal element, the police investigations, technology, networks, financial stuff is starting to come up here because we have Venus starting to square Uranus. And Mars is not far behind. So let's see what happens. That's March 2nd, moon in Sagittarius. So March 3rd. So if we're doing our numerology, the 3rd is the 6th day because March being the 3rd month and 2024 being the 8, 8, 9, 10, 11, that's 2. All right, so no, this is the 5th day. So March 1st is our 3-day. Oh, that's right. This is very interesting for those of you who follow along with the numerology of the days. The 29th, so February 29th, the numerology of the day is the 3. And then March 1st also reduces to a 3. So we have 2 3 days in a row. Pay attention to what goes on these days. Just pay attention. Things that relate to you or things that you're observing, things that people are going through, the trajectory that you see your situation on, it'll be important. Or moves that you want to make, you can just sit back and watch, or you can participate. So we have a 33, like 2 3s in a row. That's kind of interesting. So I think it's important. So March 1st, that's when the moon is in Scorpio. That could be the things are hidden from view. Something is happening, possibly, and we're not seeing it. But a Scorpio moon would definitely investigate and pick up the clues. So the moon on that day is going to square to Venus and oppose Uranus. So we are talking about some kind of shocking event having to do with money, possibly technology, networks, watch crypto. I don't know. Bitcoin is super high right now. I kind of thought it would go down, but Saturn does indicate a bottom. So I think right now we're seeing like a new bottom before it goes super duper high. We are coming off of the full moon, so that was the low, moving towards the new moon. So this could be when things like do a super duper pump. I don't know. I'm not investing advice. I'm just musing. All right. So I don't know. It's all very interesting. And then there's still the possibility for hidden and criminal type activity, things going under the radar, while at the same time other things are going to be exposed for sure. This is, I don't know, almost feels like assassination energy, but don't quote me on that. Um, if anybody's going to be pulled off life support, honestly, I think it's Kate Middleton, William's wife. I need to do a video on her chart because there's some shit that went down there. I could totally speculate on that, but I'm not going to. All right. So we got the 3-day on March 1st. Then the second is a 4-day, if you're keeping track. And the moon will make its square to Saturn. That's difficult. There's some choices there. Crossing bridges or people being stopped from crossing bridges. Maybe they're burning bridges. Maybe you're burning a bridge. So remember, we do have that bridge type energy. And the third would be the 5-day. That's when the moon will be making its last quarter square to the sun. That's when things get really externalized. When we have the first quarter square and the moon is waxing up to the full moon sort of exposes and externalizes, and then the waning moon continues to disseminate information and expose things. And a last quarter square is usually an overt action of some kind. So this should be interesting. I'm going to say watch the UK if you are paying attention to what's going on with the royal drama with Charles and William and Harry and Kate, missing Kate. This should be interesting, and I'll tell you why in a moment, but this does sort of have a monarchy feel to it. All right, so we've got the waxing square, waning square to the sun. The moon will also square Mercury in Pisces. It feels like, foreign stuff, foreign affairs, global things, and maybe an announcement about a female. The moon is sextiling to Venus, maybe even an outpouring of compassion. That Venus square to Uranus, definitely, whether it's financial or it has to do with the arts, groups of people, groups of women, social media networking, yada, yada, trafficking, traffic stop things. It's going to be an interesting week. When is Sunday? What's today? Oh my God. Who am I? Where am I? Today's Wednesday. So tomorrow's the 29th. That's our 3-day. So Friday is the 1st, Saturday is the 2nd, and March 3rd is Sunday the 3rd. Okay. Interesting. Well, the moon is making a sextile to Chiron and the North Node, bringing us towards our identity, our destiny, the healing. Uh, but the moon square to Mercury on that day could be bringing some sad and shocking news. That's what it seems like. All right, let me tell you why I think that there's some shit going down in Brits with the Great Brits. All right, so Jupiter is conjunct an asteroid called Albion, and Albion is the ancient name of Great Britain. I mean, super duper ancient. Albion is also, I think it's Yeats. Poet Yeats wrote about Albion, and if I'm not mistaken, but Albion was for he was the primordial man made up of four different aspects. So it's almost like the four elements, you know, existing and integrated into man, a physical body. And it was, the version of Adam, sort of like an Adamic figure. But I thought I'd pointed out about Albion being the ancient name of Great Britain because of what we have going on, and because Jupiter is like the monarchy, the monarchy. We have the sun sextiling to Jupiter. We have let's see, and Jupiter. I think Jupiter already conjuncted Albion, and then it retrograded, but now it's moving back forward, and it will conjunct Albion soon. I was looking at this a while back because I was interested in what was going on with Harry. So, wow, it's really in the next week or so that Jupiter will be at yeah, it's a week. So March 10th, Jupiter will be at 13 degrees of Taurus. Now, if I could show you, I think I'm sharing my screen, right? Am I still sharing? Oh, I'm sharing my iPad, so you can't see my browser. All right, take my word for it, or go to serenu.com to find out where the asteroid is heading. Interesting. Let's watch 17 degrees of Pisces, because I did say March 8th, I believe, the sun will be at 17 degrees and Mercury will be at 27 with Neptune. And Nessus is the centaur that is involved with Deianira, her story, remember? So he's a rapey guy. He's one of those rapey centaurs. And both Nessus and Deianira have to do with abuse. I think, well, I have a theory. I'm speculating that something happened to Kate that put her in a state that she is probably in a coma, intubated, which is why you haven't seen or heard anything from her. I don't think that she's passed, but it could happen now. But also it could come out that maybe there was poison or abuse, because both Deianira and Nessus have to do with poisoning. And I will tell you that we had some really crazy transits over the last degrees of Sagittarius. And if you were listening to my podcast at that time, at the end of December into January, I was calling out some poison energy. So, was it overdose? Was it intentional poisoning, which caused some kind of organ damage, brain damage, where she's in a coma? I don't know, but something could be coming up because Mercury, when it conjuncts to Neptune, will square the degrees of the sticker of the Scorpion, the constellation Scorpio, which is at the last few degrees, 5 to whatever, 28, 29 degrees of Sagittarius, where we were having the Mercury retrograde, and then we had the Mars go over it, and then we had Venus go over that, like so much crap. That was during the time when there was all these celebrities getting called out and legal issues and talk about, P. Diddy and the poisoning of a spouse, a past spouse who died. Anyway, um, a lot of shit was going down at that time. So that means that when we get to Mercury conjuncting Neptune, we get to hear about some of this stuff. And then the Sun conjuncting Neptune is going to reveal secrets. Very deep, hidden secrets. So, where's I going with this? So Jupiter will be at 13 degrees March 10th. That's where Albion is. And there was something else. Albion. I guess that was it. So yeah, Albion is at 13 Taurus. He's not moving very fast. Saturn by the 10th will be at the 11th degree of Pisces. Let's see who's in Pisces around that. I'm really curious about what happens when around March 3rd, Mercury, that's what it was. Mercury will be at 17 degrees on Nessus. I feel like we're going to be hearing about abuse. So there's that. And Venus will be squaring to Uranus. So that's females suddenly breaking out and breaking free and doing shocking things. Which Mars will follow? So first we hear about the females, and then we hear about the males. So, let's see what happens. What else did I want to point out? Well, on the 3rd, the Sun at 13 Pisces will sextile Albion. Mercury will be conjunct Nessus. And I mean, from what I've seen, there's a lot that has come out since Saturn's been in Pisces. A lot of stuff about abuse and a lot of things from the past. A lot of things that happened in 2020, 2021, 22. Let's see. When the nodes were in Gemini and Sagittarius, there was a lot that happened that isn't going to come out until now because Pisces squares to both of those. And it will have to do with Virgo type people with Virgo placements, the things coming up having to do with stuff that happened during that time when the nodes were in Gemini and Pisces. And that would have been like, I don't want to say 2020. I don't want to rewind it, but you know what I'm talking about, right? That time frame, let's say, it's either stuff coming up, and people getting exposed for their deeds having to do with hospitals and healthcare, because that's Pisces and Virgo. We also have asteroid DNA, which is retrograde in Libra right now. It's not really making any aspects just yet until it makes a trine. Well, let's see. Except for the moon going over it, which would have been yesterday or the day before. Um, so it's at like 7 or 8 degrees retrograde in Libra. And when it goes to station, I think it'll be at like 1 degree or 2 degrees of Libra, if I'm not mistaken, but it will hit that point, that degree, and trine to Pluto, which is going to be interesting in terms of DNA and investigations, criminal work, um, inheritances. So really that's what got me kind of on the groove with Harry and his paternity and looking at DNA in his chart. I really need to do a video about it. 'Cause I didn't really get so far as to make a conclusion as to whether or not he is Charles's son. I have an opinion, but I did see that it would be coming up and probably challenged. So I wonder, I mean, doesn't it make sense that while Charles is alive, he's not maybe going to uh challenge that, but of course William would, right? Because William doesn't want to be shown up by Harry, and William is the narcissist of the family, and Harry is he's the scapegoat, the black sheep. Not really the black sheep, but like, he's the one in the family that chooses to break the pattern and heal from that, and giving the father and the brother an opportunity to like say, hey, we need to like work this family shit out. And they don't appear to want to do that, especially William. From what I hear, like he is just a disgusting thing. Ooh. Um, yeah. Yeah, so I do have an opinion about that. But I wonder, what was I looking at? Well, Harry's a Virgo. William is a Cancer. It seems like maybe something would come up with Harry with these Pisces transits. Now, like go back about a week, the sun would have been making an inconjunct to DNA in Libra. Mercury then would make the inconjunct to DNA, retrograding in Libra. And the moon would have been in Virgo at that time around February 25th. I'm sure it's being talked about. Actually, I did see some posts pop up. People like going hard on attacking him. I mean, it's like pictures of his children and stuff like that. I don't like seeing that. But anyway, the thought and the discussion is out there. I feel like it may become a legal issue soon. Soon. I wanted to see. Now I'm just farting around. That's pretty much your weekly forecast. What's left of it anyway. Sorry about that, guys. Just wasn't feeling it. I didn't feel it today either, but I'm here. Saturn said, fuck you, show up, get to work, bitch. Anyway, oh, there was something I wanted to point out. So, sometime between the 29th and the 1st, those are our 3 days, February 29th into March 1st, both 3 days. Watch what's going on. Um, I will point out that the past, okay, so like today, Venus is square asteroid Narcissus in Scorpio. When the moon goes into Scorpio and conjuncts Narcissus and squares Venus and Mars, because Mars is going to square Narcissus also. You may see things coming up about narcissism. Just saying. And with Narcissus in Scorpio, I feel like Narcissus in Scorpio is very devious, and it is maybe focusing more on criminality rather than just your everyday garden variety self-absorbed bitch. You know what I mean? So, you may be observing more narcissism or realizing somebody is a narcissist, or maybe even getting a deeper understanding of the psychological dynamic of the narcissist and of the effect of the narcissist on the people around them and the codependent um and that. But because it's in Scorpio, we're going to be going into the psychology of it. If it's coming up, could be coming up in friendships because Venus and Mars are in Aquarius. So you could be noticing for the first time that somebody has narcissistic tendencies or you know, that kind of thing. Uh there just could be more discussion about it. Group therapy, I don't know. Venus and Mars comparing the different aspects of female narcissism versus male narcissism. But I really do think that the criminal element could be coming into play, maybe to where like we start to see self-organizing collectives of narcissists, groups, friend groups, and their behavior. That's what this looks like. The moon opposite to Uranus, which is ruling Aquarius, groups and networks of people, and Venus and Mars. Venus is shared values, unusual, you know, unusual values, unusual relationships. Hmm. I don't. All I can think about is true crime and serial killers. That's what I've been researching. Oh, a few of those. I really need to do some fucking videos. I don't know, I keep saying it. But you know what it is? I research and I get all this information and I look at the charts and then it's like, oh my God, I'm tired. And then I move on to the next thing. But I'm going to be more disciplined. Saturn, Sun, Pisces, and Mercury and all that. I need to use my creative skills to put out some content, motherfucker. My God. So, I think this is an interesting theme when it comes to the moon in Scorpio, opposite Uranus. I think we'll be seeing maybe more of the effects of Pluto in Aquarius, which is alternative lifestyle situations having to do with intimacy and sex. Starting to see that come up. And that would be again with the Aquarius themes of people being grouped together, being classified, or grouping themselves together, or being investigated, networks, criminals, again. And this could be cults. We can't rule out cults with Jupiter and Pisces. That's religion. That's cults. We've got a lot of group activities here with Uranus, Aquarius, Venus, Mars. Hmm. Are we going to see a cult being busted? Oh, I don't know. I mean, if we throw Juno in the mix, Juno's marriage. Oh, polygamists, a new polygamous colony. Hang on, hang on. I'm getting a download. I'm getting a download. Rick Ocasek, my spirit guide, is speaking to me. Polygamy, where did I just see it? Oh my God, it's in the stars. I gotta look for it. Hang on, it's in my notes. I was just looking at a star, and one of the things the star was associated with is polygamy. Hang on, I'll find it. Maybe it was in Pisces. Well, here I did find some things in my notes about 15 Pisces, but that's coming up. When is that coming up? Mercury will be at 15 Pisces, which is opposite to Juno at 13 Virgo in retrograde. Okay, so 15 Pisces, the star is Achernar, which is in the constellation of Eridanus, prominence in public office and religion. And then Anka, which is in at 15 degrees of Pisces, which is in the constellation Phoenix, which is Phoenix. The Greek root word is phonos, which means murder. And this star is associated with Guy Fawkes and the gunpowder plot, blow up the Houses of Parliament. Huh. So file that away. But where the heck did I just see polygamy? I am not going to stop until I find it. Oh my God. All right. It's up here somewhere. Maybe I won't find it. If I find it, I'll post it on my Twitter. Oh, this is going to bug me all day long. Where did I see polygamy? I don't want to keep you all holding on while I look for it, but it is there. And it's either in Virgo or Pisces, I want to say. And that would make sense. Because not that we don't see it in other epochs, but right now it's the Mormons, and that is an offshoot of Christianity. But, you know, Muslims have it too. I'm sure it exists in every culture. I'm just relating the Pisces Virgo axis to, I found it. I found it. I'm sorry, to Christianity. Okay, I found it. Mm-mm-mm. Dun dun dun. Saturn conjunct star scat. 8 degrees of Pisces. So look up and see if you have anything at 8 degrees of Pisces in your chart. Maybe you have polygamy in your background. Okay, I'm so proud of myself. All right, so the star scat and situla. Scat at 8 degrees of Pisces, 9 degrees of Pisces is situla. They're both in the constellation of Aquarius, which is known for all kinds of freaky stuff. So while these degrees are in the zodiac sign of Pisces, we know that the sidereal placements, because if you look at Vedic, there's about 26 degrees difference. Anyway, I'm referring to the stars and these stars in the constellation of Aquarius. So scat is known for troubles with the opposite sex, travels and adventures, and odd experiences, sudden ups and downs, early marriage and divorce or abandonment, bigamy, and polygamy, separation from children, bad health, late in life, dying in the workhouse, or we could say, working up until you die, or dying in the hospital or an asylum. And that's Saturn on that star, 8 degrees of Pisces. Very interesting. So we're talking about strange events. With Mercury conjunct this star, is known for strange events, occult interests, psychic, many friends. The moon conjunct scat, which we won't see until mid-March, I believe, March 9th. So again, what I was saying before about, dreaming of people who have passed, getting messages from the other side, seeing specters and ghosts, that kind of thing. So the moon with scat, new and influential friends, associations with companies, public position by little prominence, valuable gifts, love of respectable women. Okay, but Mercury conjunct scat. Sort of forget what I just said. Was when I had my dream about my friend that passed. Damn. That was yesterday, the 27th. Mercury conjunct the sun on scat. And I had a dream about my friend who passed. But anyway, I'm glad I found that. So what do you call it? Saturn has been conjunct scat for a while now. Anyway, I've been watching this series on YouTube, Profiling Evil, and he's been doing this thing about the FLDS church. And anyway, so it would have been in early February that Saturn would have been at 8 degrees, and no, mid February. Oh, that's funny. That was around the time that I was sort of researching into the Reverend Sun Young Moon and his mass weddings that he did. Uh, Very interesting. So Saturn Saturn was on scat, which is bigamy and polygamy. So weird. But anyway, um, I just had to make that connection there. And we really won't have any transits to that star again until March 17th. So Venus will be on that star, scat. So will the whole thing with polygamy come up? Um, Early marriage, we know what that looks like. Divorce, abandonment, separating from children. So Saturn on that star, there's a lot of that going on at the border. And everything that we just talked about with Pisces and Jupiter and Sagittarius themes of crossings, of borders, of restriction. So anyway, there you go. Hopefully it's not affecting y'all too harshly, but you may be observing it. And the difficult aspects with Saturn and the squares to Venus and Mars and the opposition to Uranus. Over the next couple of days, it probably will get a little weird when we have the moon. Like I said, I'm still sharing my screen, right? And the weirdness, the weird factor. Uh, that should be a little odd. I mean, I would just avoid unsafe situations. And don't use your credit card at the pump, skimmers and whatnot. I don't know. There could be hacking. Just you know what your plan B is. I don't have to tell you. You all are grown ass men and women. So that could get a little weird. Just avoid the sketchy environments. That could be our paranormal days, dreams coming up tomorrow and March 1st, March 2nd. Then we start to see the squares to the Pisces planets. I feel like that can be travel, that can be storms, there could be legal issues, things being revealed and or hidden. Like just because things are getting revealed, the reverse can happen too, where the information can be obscured and people can be taken in by con artists with this Pisces energy. So just be careful. Uh, yeah. And then the third, again, watch out for, I don't know, anything pulling on your heartstrings because Pisces is super sensitive and empathic and would feel sorry for people. So I think the scammers are going to be, they could be people pretending to be other people, or they could be, they know exactly where to get you in your heartstrings to tug on them to feel sorry. Let me back in. This is your ex. Like, I've changed. I found Jesus. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Okay. I think that's all I'm seeing right now that I want to talk about. Let me just take one more peek at the asteroids to see if I'm missing anything in Sagittarius. Didymus is square to Neptune. Didymus is our multiple personality, dissociative identity disorder, twin, good twin, bad twin, two-faced people, doubting Thomases. That's in Sagittarius, 25 degrees. The moon will be on Didymus on March 4th. So it's beyond the scope of what we're doing today. And in Aquarius, let me make sure I didn't miss anything. In Aquarius, Pluto, we know is at 1 degree. Aureus, Amicus. Amicus briefs are an interesting thing. I wonder what, well, when the moon goes into Scorpio and squares Pluto, we might get some amicus briefs. That's a legal term. That is somebody, it basically means friend of the court. That's somebody who can interject themselves into a court case and give the court some friendly advice, usually done by legal professionals. However, I did see something come across my desk that was advising people on how they can write their own amicus briefs. So, amicus curiae, I think it's called, but there are other uses for that expression where it doesn't have to be a court. It could be anyone in position of power making a recommendation or a decision, and offering some friendly advice. Like amicus, it just means friend. It means it's like giving friendly advice. Now, Aureus, when I look up Aureus, the word, not the asteroid, because there really wasn't that much information, but Aureus is a species of insect. It's a small winged flying insect that it's not poisonous, but it will bite. But basically what they're used for is pest control. So it's like the idea that, you control your aphids by releasing ladybugs. Well, aureus are used in a similar fashion to go after other small insects which attack crops. So it made me think of releasing humans into the wild to take care of a particular problem. And I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, what else is going on in Aquarius here? Besides Mars, we have Venus conjunct Hermes, the lovely and androgynous Hermes, which is Mercury, messenger to the gods. So Venus is getting some messages. Chariklo is the wife of or partner of Chiron. So she's the female Chiron. So we could say wounded feminine, perhaps, doing some healing as it is conjunct to Venus and sextile to the North Node and Chiron by a few degrees. Ophelia is drowning like she is usually drowning. Suicide female drowning. overly emotional. Another one of that, like, there's a lot of like overly emotional drama queen sort of, um, I'm gonna kill myself because my lover doesn't want me anymore. Energy. Pythia is the oracle. Apophis is the destroyer. Bacchus is Dionysian. Dionysus and Bacchus are kind of interchangeable. So that's like the male, you know, boys gone wild kind of energy, god of wine, partying, bacchanalia, and hedonism. Okay. What else is going on here? I just want to pull out the asteroids that are happening, interacting with planets. Well, I talked about Requiem, the funeral mass, conjunct Sun, Eurydice, another drowning female. Dejanera is abuse and victimization of females. But also, I would say love triangles, poison, blood evidence. Okay, we have Dejanera and Nessus, two asteroids of abuse, love triangles, poison, blood. So pay attention to that. Mercury is in there. Neptune is not really conjunct anybody. Magdalena was conjunct Neptune, I think, last week. Borsici and Magdalena. So Magdalena, you can look at Mary Magdalene and that whole thing. And Borsici, even with like Christianity and any religion where there is denial and, covering up lies, you know, telling yourself it's okay so that we can keep the machine moving. And it does definitely have to do with religion. And Magdalena is, you could say Mary Magdalene or the name Magdalene or Madeline. Magdalena can also be uh, groups of women, sort of a Vestal Virgin type thing. And it can be devotion, female groups, devotion to a cause, a belief system, doing anything to support a cause. Neptune in there, just we've been really uncovering a lot about religion and abuse, the suppression of, the protection of the abuser and the cover-ups and all of that stuff. So that's been a central theme, very big with Neptune and Pisces, especially around this degree. It's at 26, but I think it's 24 or 25. The Sabian symbol is the purging of the priesthood. So that can be looked at as purging people from the priesthood, or the priesthood people being purged of their sins, in quotes, or realizing ourselves as the priesthood. So that's another way to look at it. Other than that, in Aries, we have Chiron and the North Node. We have Heracles and Phaethon. Phaethon is another one of those Icarus, pushing it too far, Icarus was getting too close to the sun. Phaethon was cast down to earth by Zeus's thunderbolt because, the chariot, he was a lot out of control. And Phaethon can have to do with car accidents. So being aware of that. If that's active in your chart and getting some hard aspects, I would pay attention because in Aries, it definitely speed and, vehicles blowing up and on fire could be an issue. Interesting that Heracles is coming up with this Chiron. Heracles was Deianira's husband in that story. So he's the king. She's, you know, the queen. I don't know. Was he a king? Husband, wife, and then um, the poisoning of their relationship and the jealousy, that kind of thing. Cheating, love triangles. You know what I'm saying? Third party situationships. What else is going on? Aries. Aries. We don't really have much else happening in Aries. We have Jupiter, like I said, coming to a conjunction with Albion next week. Minerva is conjunct Uranus. Minerva is Pallas Athena. Minerva, the owl. Oh, that very famous owl in New York City died. I forget his name. I think, did he like crash into a building or something? I'll have to go look that up now. So, Minerva conjunct Uranus. That's interesting. I don't know. I'm not sure what day it was, but it was probably about 3 days ago. And that could have been when the moon was in Virgo, making the trine to Uranus. I mean, Uranus is weird, freaky events, right? I don't know. I'd have to look into that. Anyway, that about exhausts my brain for today. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it didn't go too long. I have no concept of time today, which is sort of a Neptune, Pisces, Saturn in Pisces kind of a thing. This is your brain on Pisces. All right, you guys. Thanks for stopping by. You know where to find me, y'all. On Twitter, Instagram, Fartbook, Threads. If you're over there, say hi. Uh, yeah, I sound really excited about that, don't I? If you're interested in booking a reading, you can email me at astrolunachick@gmail.com. And if your email doesn't get caught in my spam folder, I will get back to you. I should check it. Otherwise, you can hit me up on the Astro Lunatic hotline, which is 914-222-1231. You can leave a voicemail message or you can text me and we can talk about what you're looking for astrologically. Oh, you can also buy me a coffee. Yes, I will. I'll put the link in the description box here down under when I post the YouTube thing. Yeah. I had somebody buy me 3 coffees this week, and you guys know how I love coffee. Uh, yeah, a wonderful Twitter friend of mine did me 3 coffees, and I looked at a chart for her. So shout out to Carla. I love you. I love looking at charts like that because that it ended up being her. Well, I won't give her details away, but my my verdict on it was this looks like a vermin supreme. Please, please back away slowly and run in the other direction. Anyway, I threw out all the possibilities there and, I threw it against the wall and wanted to see what stuck. I tried to be like positive. I'm not saying, I'm always negative, but I go to, is this person a crazy psychopath? Like when you don't tell me who the person is and you're just like, here, what do you think of this? Read the chart. I'm like, this looks like a con artist. I want to say, but like that's always my first impression. But at the very least, uh, maybe someone who is under a strong religious delusion. And then where can you go from there? It's your belief systems, it's the truth, the lies, what is true, the passive aggressive stuff, slippery, hidden motives. But then I thought, we didn't have a birth date. A birth time. We just had the birth date. I thought, let me be fair to this person, as I don't know, and say they could be experiencing all those things because we don't know where those planets and that T-square of Gemini, Sag, and Pisces. Oh my gosh, we don't know what houses that those were in. So it's, it could be the person experiencing that coming from another, someone else being victimized by that energy. So it had to be fair. But yeah, my first inclination was run, run away, run far away. Don't even try to have a conversation. Anyway, that was a lot of fun, and I had just as much fun with it, doing it. But anyway, thank you to Carla. Okay, you guys, I am out, out, out. We will process this video and upload it so it's not any later than it already is. I hope you have a good week. I hope you have a weird week. I don't know. I think weird is fun. I get bored when things are normal. And stop over in the socials and say hello. Join the Gilded Chat if you are so inclined. It is a safe space for weirdos. Okay. Thank you again. And as always, ciao for now.